Should I avoid temptation situations? I have been direct in my advice so far, and would ask you to treat this advice as instruction rather than suggestion. I am explicit and direct. First, because there are sound and practical reasons for my advice, and second, because those reasons have been backed up by thousands of case studies. On the question of whether or not to try to avoid temptation during the withdrawal period, I regret that I cannot be direct. Each porn masturbation orgasmer will need to decide for himself. I can, however, make what I hope will be helpful suggestions. I repeat that it is fear that keeps us to porn masturbation orgasm all our lives, and this fear consists of two distinct phases. Phase 1. How can I survive without porn masturbation orgasm? This fear is the panicky feeling the porn masturbation orgasmer gets when they are alone in a single phase or have an asexual, uninterested, or unavailable partner. The fear isn't caused by withdrawal pangs, but it is the psychological fear of dependency. You cannot survive without sex and orgasm. It actually reaches its height when you are on the verge of quitting. I won't use giving up. At that time, your withdrawal pangs are at their lowest. It is the fear of the unknown, the sort of fear that people have when they are learning to dive. The diving board is 1 foot high, but seems to be 6 foot high. The water is 6 feet deep, but appears to be 1 foot deep. It takes courage to launch yourself. You are convinced you are going to smash your head. The launching is the hardest part. If you can find the courage to do it, the rest is easy. This explains why many otherwise strong-willed porn masturbation orgasmers either have never attempted to stop or can survive only a few days when they do. In fact, there are some porn masturbation orgasmers on a porn diet who, when they decide to stop, actually binge and escalate to harsher clips more quickly than if they had not decided to stop. The decision causes panic, which is stressful. This is one of the occasions when the brain triggers the instruction, take a trip to your own personal harem. But now you can't take one. You are being deprived. More stress. The trigger starts again quickly when the fuse blows and you fire up the browser. Don't worry. That panic is just psychological. It is the fear that you are dependent. The beautiful truth is that you are not, even when you are still addicted. Do not panic. Trust me and launch yourself. Phase 2. Longer-term fear. The second phase of fear is longer-term. It involves the fear that certain situations in the future will not be enjoyable, or that you will not be able to cope with a trauma without porn masturbation orgasm. Don't worry. If you can launch yourself, you will find the opposite to be the case. The avoidance of temptation itself falls into two main categories. 1. I will subscribe to a porn diet of once in 4 days. I will feel more confident knowing that I can go online if it gets hard. It is okay if I fail if I can just add up additional days to my next cycle. I find the failure rate with people who do this is far higher than for people who just quit altogether. I believe this is due mainly to the fact that if you have a bad moment during the withdrawal period, it is easier to hop on your browser and visit your harem with the above excuses. If you have the indignity of clearly breaking your own rules, such as a shattered glass window, you are more likely to overcome the temptation. In any event, the pang will probably have passed if you had delayed it. However, I believe the main reason for the higher failure rate in these cases is that the porn masturbation orgasmer does not feel completely committed to stopping in the first place. Remember, the two essentials to succeed are certainty and isn't it marvelous that I do not need to porn masturbation orgasm anymore? In either case, why on earth do you need porn masturbation orgasm? If you still feel the need to visit your harem, I would suggest that you reread this book first. It means that something hasn't quite gelled. Take the time to kill without trace the big monster in your mind. 1. Certainty. 2. Should I avoid stressful or social occasions during the withdrawal period? My advice is yes. Try to avoid stressful situations. There is no sense in putting undue pressure on yourself. In the case of social events, to a bar or dance floor, my advice is the reverse. No, go out and enjoy yourself straight away. You do not need sex. The propagative side of sex, even while you are still addicted to porn. You do not need sex. The propagative side of sex, even while you are still addicted to porn. Go to a party and rejoice in the fact that you do not have to have sex and propagative sex. It will quickly prove to you the beautiful truth that life is so much better without the pressure of sex. Just think how much better it will be when the little monster has left you, together with all those needy thoughts. The moment of revelation. The moment of revelation usually takes place about 3 weeks after stopping. The sky appears to become brighter, and it is the moment when the brainwashing ends completely. When instead of telling yourself you do not need to porn masturbation orgasm, you suddenly realize that the last thread is broken and you can enjoy the rest of your life without ever needing porn masturbation orgasm again. It is also usually from this point that you start looking at other porn masturbation orgasmers as objects of pity. Porn masturbation orgasmers, using the willpower method, do not normally experience this moment because although they are glad to be ex-porn masturbation orgasmers, they continue through life believing they are making a sacrifice. The more you are addicted, the more marvelous this moment is, and it lasts a lifetime. I consider I have been very fortunate in this life and had some wonderful moments, but the most wonderful of all was the moment of revelation. With all the other highlights of my life, although I can remember there were happy times, I can never recapture the actual feeling. I can never get over the joy of not having to porn masturbation orgasm anymore. If ever I am feeling low and need a boost nowadays, I just think how lovely it is to not be hooked on that awful addiction. Half the people who contact me after they have stopped visiting the online harems say exactly the same thing, that it was the most marvelous event of their lives. Ah, what pleasure you have to come. With additional feedback, both from forums and personal interactions, I have learned that in most cases, the moment of revelation occurs not after 3 weeks, as stated above, but within a few days. In my own case, it happened before I was finished on my last harem visit. I am sure many of the readers here, before they'd even got to the end of the chapters, would say something like, "You needn't say another word. I can see it all so clearly. I know I'll never porn masturbation orgasm again." From the messages I receive, I'm also aware that it frequently happens. Ideally, if you follow all the instructions and understand the psychology completely, it should happen to you immediately. I say to porn masturbation orgasmers that it takes about 5 days for the noticeable physical withdrawal to go, and about 3 weeks for an ex-porn masturbation orgasmer to get completely free. In one way, I dislike giving such guidelines. It can cause two problems. The first is that I put in people's minds the suggestion that they will have to suffer for between 5 days and 3 weeks. The second is that ex-porn masturbation orgasmers tend to think, if I can survive for 4 days or 3 weeks, I can expect a real boost at the end of that period. However, he may have 5 pleasant days or 3 pleasant weeks, then followed by one of those disastrous days that strike both non-porn masturbation orgasmers and porn masturbation orgasmers alike, which have nothing to do with the addiction, but are caused by other factors in our lives. Then our ex-porn masturbation orgasmer is waiting for the moment of revelation, but what he experiences is depression instead. It could destroy his confidence. If I don't give any guidelines, however, the ex-porn masturbation orgasmer can spend the rest of his life waiting for nothing to happen. I suspect that this is what happens to the vast majority of porn masturbation orgasmers who stop when using the willpower method. At one time, I was tempted to say that the moment of revelation should happen immediately. But if I did that, and it didn't happen immediately, the ex-porn masturbation orgasmer would lose confidence and think it was never going to happen. People often ask me about the significance of the 5 days and 3 weeks. Are they just periods that I've drawn out of the blue? No. They are obviously not definite dates, but they reflect an accumulation of feedback over the years. About 5 days after stopping is when the ex-porn masturbation orgasmer ceases to have the addiction as the main occupation of his mind. Most ex-porn masturbation orgasmers experience the moment of revelation around this period. What usually happens is you are in one of those stressful or social situations that once you couldn't cope with or enjoy without a harem visit. You suddenly realize that not only are you enjoying or coping with it, but the thought of porn masturbation orgasm has never even occurred to you. From that point on, it is usually plain sailing. That's when you know you are free. I have noticed from my previous attempts using the willpower method and from feedback from others that around the 3-week period is when most serious attempts to stop fail. I believe that what usually happens is that after about 3 weeks, you sense that you have lost the desire to porn masturbation orgasm. You need to prove this to yourself, and so you hop on your browser to visit your harem. It feels weird. You've proved you have kicked it, but you've also greased the Delta Force B porn water slides, thanks to the fresh dopamine rush into your brain, and this dopamine rush is what your body has been craving for 3 weeks. As soon as you finish the deed, the dopamine starts to leave your body. Now a little voice is saying, you haven't kicked it. You want another one. You don't scurry back straight away, because you don't want to get hooked again. You allow a safe period to pass. When you are next tempted, you are able to say to yourself, but I didn't get hooked again, so there's no harm in having another one. You are already on your way down the slippery slope. The key to the problem is not to wait for the moment of revelation, but to realize that once you close the browser, it is finished. You've already done all you need to do. You've cut off the supply of oxygen to your little monster. No force on earth can prevent you from being free unless you mope about it or wait for revelation. Go and enjoy life. Cope with it right from the start. That way, you'll soon experience the moment. The final visit. Having decided on your timing, you are now ready to visit your harem one last time. Before you do so, check on the 2 essentials. 1. Do you feel certain of success? 2. Have you a feeling of doom and gloom or a sense of excitement that you are about to achieve something marvelous? If you have any doubts, reread the book first. Remember that you never decided to fall into the porn trap, but that the trap is designed to enslave you for life. In order to escape, you need to make the positive decision that you are about to stop and make your final visit. Remember, the only reason that you have read this book so far is because you would dearly love to escape. So make that positive decision now. Make a solemn vow that when you close your incognito browser window, whether you find it easy or difficult, you will never visit your harem again or engage in porn masturbation orgasm. Perhaps you are worried that you have made this vow several times in the past but are still failing, or that you will have to go through some awful trauma. Have no fear. The worst thing that can possibly happen is that you fail, and so you have absolutely nothing to lose, and so much to gain. But stop even thinking about failure. The beautiful truth is that it is not only ridiculously easy to quit, but you can actually enjoy the process. This time you are going to use Peasy Way. All you need to do is to follow the simple instructions that I'm about to give you. 1. Make the solemn vow now and mean it. 2. Browse the pictures and clips on your favorite tube site consciously. Look at the desperate attempts by the site admins, actors, and even amateurs at amplifying the shock, novelty, suprastimulation values of their wares, and ask yourself where the pleasure is. 3. When you finally close the browser, do so not with a feeling of, I must never visit another online harem again, or I'm not allowed to visit another, but instead with a feeling of, isn't it great? I'm free. I'm no longer a slave to porn. I don't ever have to visit these filthy sites in my life again. 4. Be aware that for a few days there will be a little porn saboteur inside your stomach. You might only know the feeling, I want to porn masturbation orgasm. At times I refer to that little porn monster as the slight physical craving for dopamine. Strictly, this is incorrect, and it is important that you understand why. Because it takes about 3 weeks for that little monster to die, ex-porn masturbation orgasmers believe that the little monster will continue to crave after the final online harem visit, and that they must therefore use willpower to resist the temptation during this period. This is not so. The body doesn't crave porn-triggered dopamine. Only the brain craves dopamine. If you do get the feeling of, I want a peak, over the next few days, your brain has a simple choice. It can either interpret the feeling for what it actually is, an empty, insecure feeling started by the first visit to an online porn site and perpetuated by every subsequent one, and say to yourself, yippee, I'm a non-porn masturbation orgasmer. Or you can start craving for porn and suffer it for the rest of your life. Just think for a moment. Wouldn't that be an incredibly stupid thing to do? To say, I never want to porn masturbation orgasm again, then spend the rest of your life saying, I'd love a visit. That's what porn masturbation orgasmers who use the willpower method do. No wonder they feel so miserable. They spend the rest of their lives desperately moping for something that they desperately hope they will never have. No wonder so few of them succeed, and the few that do never feel completely free. Seeing. The mental picture of breaking away from prison and hearing, yippee, I'm free. I'm a non-porn masturbation orgasmer. Isn't it great? I'm free. I'm no longer a slave. I don't have to porn masturbation orgasm again. Refer Maxwell's book, The New Psycho-Cybernetics, Chapter 12. Get this mental picture clearly in your mind, for it can be quite helpful in overcoming the power of external stimuli to disturb you. See yourself sitting quietly, letting the phone ring, ignoring its signal, unmoved by its command. Although you are aware of it, you no longer mind or obey it. Also, get clearly in your mind the fact that the outside signal in itself has no power over you, no power to move you. In the past, you have obeyed it, responded to it, purely out of habit. You can, if you wish, form a new habit of not responding. Also notice that your failure to respond does not consist in doing something, or making an effort, or resisting, or fighting, but in doing nothing, in relaxation from doing. You merely relax. Ignore the signal, and let its summons go unheeded. The telephone ringing is a symbolic analogy to any and every other outside stimulus you might habitually give control over to, and now choose to very intentionally alter that habit. It is only the doubting and the waiting that makes it difficult to quit. So never doubt your decision. You know it's the correct decision. If you begin to doubt it, you will put yourself into a no-win situation. You will be miserable if you crave a porn masturbation orgasm visit, but can't have one. You will be even more miserable if you do have one. No matter what system you are using, what is it that you are trying to achieve when you quit porn masturbation orgasming? Never to porn masturbate orgasm again? No. Many ex-porn masturbation orgasmers do that, but go through the rest of their lives feeling deprived. What is the real difference between porn masturbation orgasmers and non-porn masturbation orgasmers? Non-porn masturbation orgasmers have no need or desire to porn masturbate an orgasm. They do not crave porn and porn masturbation orgasm, and do not need to exercise willpower in order not to porn masturbation orgasm. That's what you are trying to achieve, and it is completely within your power to achieve it. You don't have to wait to stop craving porn or to become a non-porn masturbation orgasmer. You do it the moment you close the final browser session. You have cut off the supply of dopamine. You are already a happy non-porn masturbation orgasmer. And you will remain a happy non-porn masturbation orgasmer provided 1. You never doubt your decision. 2. You don't wait to become a non-porn masturbation orgasmer. If you do, you will merely be waiting for nothing to happen, which will create a phobia. 3. You don't try not to think about porn masturbation orgasming or wait for the moment of revelation to come. Either way, you will merely create a phobia. 4. You do not use substitutes. 5. You see all other porn masturbation orgasmers as they really are, and pity them rather than envy them. Whether they be good days or bad days, you don't change your life just because you've quit porn masturbation orgasming. If you do, you will be making a genuine sacrifice, and there is no need to. Remember, you haven't given up living. You haven't given up anything. On the contrary, you've cured yourself of an awful disease and escaped from an insidious prison. As the days go by and your health, both physical and mental, improves, the highs will appear higher and the lows less low than when you were a porn masturbation orgasmer. Whenever you think about porn masturbation orgasming, either during the next few days or the rest of your life, you think, yippee, I'm a non-porn masturbation orgasmer. A final warning. No porn masturbation orgasmer, given the chance of going back to the time before he became hooked with the knowledge he has now, would opt to start. Many of them who consult me are convinced that if I could only help them stop, they would never dream of porn masturbation orgasming again. And yet thousands of porn masturbation orgasmers successfully kick the habit for many years and lead perfectly happy lives, only to get trapped once again. I trust that this book will help you to find it relatively easy to stop. But be warned, porn masturbation orgasmers who find it easy to stop find it easy to start again. Do not fall for this trap. No matter how long you have stopped or how confident you are that you will never become hooked again, make it a rule of life not to porn masturbation orgasm for any reason. Resist the illusions and the innuendos in the media. And remember, they are pushing their image of openness by bringing porn into mainstream without realizing how porn, internet porn, etc. are killers of relationships and of the personal sense of well-being for a huge number of men and some women. Remember, that first peek or visit will do nothing for you. You will have no withdrawal pangs to relieve, and it will make you feel awful. What it will do is to put the pleasure of dopamine rush into your mind and brain, and a little voice at the back of your mind will be saying, "You want another one." Then you have got the choice of being miserable for a while or starting the whole filthy chain again. This method will be poo-pooed by the so-called experts, as I have kept it thin deliberately on the science side of porn addiction. This hackbook is based on a very successful technique used by Allen Carr for quitting smoking, alcohol, and gambling. I've personally broken away from the prisons of cigarette, alcohol, and internet porn with this technique. I'd like to add here that I've tried some of the best programs, such as CBT, DEADS, and Avert, before arriving at the Easy Way. I could not close the deal. I was then led to studying about self-hypnosis that deals with bad habits. The key idea that sold me on this method is his emphasis on the feelings of misery and deprivation, misery and sacrifice, misery and guilt. If you use the willpower method, you will invariably have all or one of these awful feelings that in themselves provide the grease to slide back to the addiction. I'm not a do-gooder. My war, which I emphasize, is not against porn masturbation orgasmers, but against the porn trap. I wage for the purely selfish reason that I enjoy it. Every time I hear of a porn masturbation orgasmer escaping from the prison, I get a feeling of great pleasure, even when it has nothing to do with me. You can imagine also the immense pleasure I obtain from the grateful letters that I have received over time. There has also been considerable frustration. The frustration is caused mainly by two main categories of porn masturbation orgasmer. First, in spite of the warning in the previous chapter, I am disturbed by the number of porn masturbation orgasmers who find it easy to stop, yet later get hooked again and find they can't succeed the next time. Practically, the last thing I say to ex-porn masturbation orgasmers is, remember, you must never visit another online harem again. One particular man said, "Have no fear. If I manage to stop, I'll definitely never porn masturbation orgasm again." I could tell that the warning hadn't really registered. I said, "I know you feel like that at the moment, but how will you feel 6 months on?" He said, "I will never porn masturbation orgasm again." A while later, there was another phone call. I had a lapse while on a business trip, and now I'm back on one a day. I said, "Do you remember when you first phoned? You hated it so much you were going to pay your mentor $1,000 if you could stop for a week." "I remember. Haven't I been stupid?" "Do you remember you promised me you would never porn masturbation orgasm again?" "I know. I'm a fool." It's like finding someone up to his neck in a swamp and about to go under. You help pull him out. He is grateful to you, and then 6 months later he dives straight back into the swamp. Ironically, when this man attended a subsequent session, he said, "Can you believe it? I offered to pay a 21-year-old $1,000 if he would not porn masturbation orgasm for a year. I paid up. I can't believe he could be so stupid. I said, I don't see how you can call him stupid. At least he doesn't know the misery he's in for. You knew it as well as anyone, and survived only a month. Porn masturbation orgasmers who find it easy to stop and start again pose a special problem. However, when you get free, please, please, please do not make the same mistake. They believe that such people start again because they are still hooked and are missing the dopamine. In fact, they find stopping so easy that they lose their fear of porn masturbation orgasming. They think, I can have an odd porn masturbation orgasm session. Even if I do get hooked again, I'll find it easy to stop again. I'm afraid it just doesn't work that way. It's easy to stop porn masturbation orgasming, but it's impossible to try to control the addiction. The one thing that is essential to becoming a non-porn masturbation orgasmer is not to porn masturbate orgasm. The other category of porn masturbation orgasmers that causes me frustration is those who are just too frightened to make the attempt to stop, or when they do, find it a great struggle. The main difficulties appear to be the following. 1. Fear of failure. There is no disgrace in failure, but not to try is plain stupidity. Look at it this way. You're hiding from nothing. The worst thing that can happen is that you fail, in which case you are no worse off than you are now. Just think how wonderful it would be to succeed. If you don't make the attempt, you have already guaranteed failure. 2. Fear of panic and of being miserable. Don't worry about it. Just think, what awful thing could happen to you if you never again porn masturbation orgasmed? Absolutely none. Terrible things will happen if you do. Reread my notes on Pascal's wager. In any case, the panic is caused by dopamine and will soon be gone. The greatest gain is to be rid of that fear. Do you really believe that porn masturbation orgasmers are prepared to have fading penetrations and unreliable erections, or the pleasure of orgasms which they get from porn? If you find yourself feeling panicky, deep breathing will help. If you are with other people and they are getting you down, go away from them. Escape to the garage or an empty office or wherever. If you feel like crying, don't be ashamed. Crying is nature's way of relieving tension. No one has ever had a good cry without feeling better afterwards. One of the awful things we do to young boys is to teach them not to cry. You see them trying to fight the tears back, but watch the jaw grinding away. We teach ourselves to not show any emotions. We are meant to show emotions, not to try to bottle them up inside us. Scream or shout or have a tantrum. Kick a cardboard box or filing cabinet. Regard your struggle as a boxing match that you cannot lose. No one can stop time. Every moment that passes, the little porn monster inside you is dying. Enjoy your inevitable victory. 3. Not following the instructions. Incredibly, some porn masturbation orgasmers say to me, "Your method just didn't work for me." They then describe how they ignored not only one instruction, but practically all of them. For clarification, I will summarize these in the checklist at the end of this chapter. 4. Misunderstanding instructions. The chief problems appear to be these. A. I cannot stop thinking about porn. Of course you can't. If you try, you will create a phobia and be miserable. It's like trying to get to sleep at night. The more you try, the harder it becomes. I think about porn and porn masturbation orgasm 90% of my life. It's what you're thinking that's important. If you are thinking, "Oh, I'd love to masturbate to porn masturbation orgasm," or "When will I be free?" you'll be miserable. If, instead, you are thinking, "Yippee, I am free," you'll be happy. B. When will the little porn monster die? The dopamine flush leaves your body very rapidly, but it is impossible to tell when your body will cease to suffer from the slight physical sensation of dopamine withdrawal. That empty, insecure feeling is identical to normal hunger, depression, or stress. All the porn masturbation orgasm does is to increase the level of it. This is why porn masturbation orgasmers who stop by using the willpower method are never quite sure whether they've kicked it, even after the body has ceased to suffer from dopamine surges. Withdrawal. If they suffer normal hunger or stress, their brain is still saying, that means you must claim your entitled porn masturbation orgasm. The point is, you don't have to wait for the craving to go. It is so slight that we don't even know it's there. We know it only as feeling I want. When you leave the dentist after the final session, do you wait for your jaw to stop aching? Of course you don't. You get on with your life. Even though your jaw's still aching, you are elated. C. Waiting for the moment of revelation. More. If you wait for it, you are just causing another phobia. I once stopped for 3 weeks on the willpower method. I chatted with an old friend. He said, "How are you getting on?" I said, "I've survived 3 weeks." He said, "What do you mean you've survived 3 weeks?" I said, "I've gone 3 weeks without a porn masturbation orgasm." And he said, "What are you going to do? Survive the rest of your life? What are you waiting for? You've done it. You're a non-porn masturbation orgasmer." I thought, he's absolutely right. What am I waiting for? Unfortunately, because I didn't fully understand the nature of the trap at that time, I was soon back in it. But the point was noted. You become a non-porn masturbation orgasmer when you close your browser. The important thing is to be a happy non-porn masturbation orgasmer from the start. D. I'm still craving porn. Then you are being very stupid. How can you claim, I want to be a non-porn masturbation orgasmer, and then say, I want porn? That's a contradiction. If you say, I want a porn masturbation orgasm, you are saying, I want to be a porn masturbation orgasmer. Non-porn masturbation orgasmers do not want to visit the disgusting tube sites. You already know what you really want to be. So stop punishing yourself. E. I've opted out of life. Why? All you have to do is stop killing yourself and start energizing yourself. You don't have to stop living. Look, it's as simple as this. For the next few days, you'll have a slight trauma in your life. Your body will suffer the almost imperceptible aggravation of withdrawal from your demands and claims for a dopamine surge. Now, bear this in mind. You are no worse off than you were. This is what you have been suffering the whole of your life. Every time you have been asleep or in a church, supermarket, or library. It didn't seem to bother you when you were a porn masturbation orgasmer, and if you don't stop, you'll go on suffering this distress for the rest of your life. Porn masturbation orgasm and orgasms don't make meals or drinks or social occasions. They sometimes deprive you of them. Even while your body is still craving dopamine surge claims, meals and social occasions are marvelous. Life is marvelous. Go to social functions, even if there are naked dancers there. Remember that you are not being deprived. They are. More. Moment of revelation. R2T. Resistance to temptation. Mad. Misery and deprived. Mass. Misery and sacrifice. Mag. Misery and guilt. DSC. Dopamine surge claims. Every one of them would love to be in your position, only if they knew. Enjoy being the prima donna and the center of attention. Stopping porn masturbation orgasm is a wonderful conversation point. but you can take a secret pleasure that you just can't. I'm sure they will be surprised to see that you, a shy and tired-looking fellow, is now happy and cheerful. If you are practicing no orgasms and caressa with one of the women, she will think that you are incredible. Every woman wants the amative side, so be sure to indulge yourself in that. The important point is that you'll be enjoying life right from the start. There's no need to envy PUAs at the parties. They'll be envying you. Ah, only if they knew. F. I am miserable and irritable. That is because you haven't followed my instructions. Find out which one it is. Some people understand and believe everything I say, but still start off with a feeling of doom and gloom, as if something terrible were happening. You are doing not only what you'd like to do, but what every porn masturbation orgasmer on the planet would like to do. With any method of stopping, what the ex-porn masturbation orgasmer is trying to achieve is a certain frame of mind, so that whenever he thinks about porn masturbation orgasm, he says to himself, "Yippee, I'm free." If that's your object, why wait? Start off in that frame of mind and never lose it. The rest of the book is designed to make you understand why there is no alternative.